Right now at 5, a new law in Oklahoma could mean residents will spend less money on groceries.
And we've got a pretty decent start to the day with some showers and thunderstorms across the area. Relatively isolated now, but that will change later. Look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, the city of Miami City Council discusses the financial future of a senior center.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Elise Noe.
I'm Chris Warner. It's finally Friday.
Yes.
Here we are.
Here we are in those cooler
Should have been
temperatures
closer. Yeah.
and holiday weekend. Lots of stuff happening.
Lots of stuff happening out there, and we've got the rain. There's not much of it right now, but
right.
We'll get a little more later, and believe it or not, we could even see some heavy rain.
Oh, wow.
Overnight tonight. Maybe brief, but any rain's better than no
yeah.
rain at this particular point. But right now, there's really not a lot out there, unfortunately. The future track data was correct about these storms. Let's start, though, with this. This is a live look from our new camera there in Pittsburgh, looking at downtown Pittsburgh, again, pointed roughly to the south and east along Broadway. Looking pretty good so far this morning. Our camera 7th and range line looks great as well, and it's pointed back almost. It could almost look at that camera in Pittsburgh, but it is pointed back roughly to the northwest there. And the MoDOT camera looking back north along range line, also looking pretty good this morning. Dry in Joplin, dry for most of us right now. And how do we know that? Well, the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Plus, if you go outside and you're in some of these areas, it's not raining. So, that's how you also know that it is dry. But we do have a few isolated showers out there. In fact, they were looking a little better about 30 minutes ago. But we have some light showers now west of 59, Garnett, Ozark, down just north of Iola. We've got another one up here around Lincoln on 69. And then as we head a little further south, again, we had actually a few decent looking heavier rain showers, but right now little splotchy showers around Howard, Independence, and then north and south of Parsons out there. So again, not much, but if we put this in motion, you'll see where we did have a few heavier showers, but they've begun to kind of fizzle out. This is that cold front, or at least ahead of it, and you can see too, even this activity is starting to die out. So we'll keep an eye out, but it also did trigger some outflow boundaries, so that might trigger some additional storms this morning, and we definitely need the rain. We don't need severe weather, but we need rain. So throughout the day, there will be isolated chances of showers and thunderstorms, and then as we head later into the day, those chances will pick up a bit more, and we'll have a few more scattered showers and storms, and a strong storm or two will be possible, but again, not anticipating any kind of significant severe weather of any kind at this point. 75 in Joplin, 72 in Pittsburgh, so you can tell also that front has not quite made it through our area yet, but we're a little cooler. Iola, Yates Center at 72. We do have some low, mid, and upper 70s, so a good smattering, but either way, paying it all of us above normal. Kids getting on the bus this morning, again, maybe an isolated shower or storm, low 70. South breeze at 5 to 10. By this afternoon, that becomes northwest at 5 to 10. A few more scattered storms and right about 90, and that's where we're looking to cap out for our highs, is about 90 degrees today. Clouds again will increase. We'll still be mostly cloudy. We'll have those scattered showers and storms out there, and these will continue with us at least into our Saturday, maybe a couple of storms on Sunday. We'll look at all those details in the full forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. We have breaking news this morning out of Coffeyville, Kansas. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation has begun an investigation into an officer-involved shooting yesterday afternoon. Coffeyville police began to conduct a traffic stop on a Ford pickup truck driven by 33-year-old Derek J. Trotter of Coffeyville, who was connected to an active investigation. Preliminary information indicates that officers tried to detain Trotter to serve a search warrant for items in his possession. Trotter began to fight back as officers tried to place handcuffs on him. Now, during the fight, officers deployed tasers, but with no effect. One officer pulled their firearm and fired 3 rounds, striking Trotter. Officers then began to render aid, and EMS transported Trotter to the Coffeyville Regional Medical Center, where he was pronounced deceased. No law enforcement officers were injured in the shooting. KBI will conduct a thorough and independent investigation into this officer-involved shooting. Once completed, the findings will be presented to the Montgomery County Attorney for review. This is a breaking news story. You can watch for updates on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. And to be the first to see breaking news like this, as well as weather and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. Well, people in Oklahoma will save on their grocery bills starting yesterday. KOAM's Anthony Saviello reports on the elimination of the state's grocery tax.
A tax cut in Oklahoma could start making a difference for people in Oklahoma who have struggled to put groceries on the table. Back in February, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signing the 4.5% tax cut bill on groceries into law that will completely cut taxes off of groceries. That bill now in effect. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average family spent $5,702 on groceries in 2022. Governor Stitt says this bill could save families $60 a month on groceries that would total up to $720 in savings per year. There are exclusions that Oklahomans need to be aware of. For instance, this tax cut does not apply to clothes shopping, alcohol, or pre-made foods such as what you may find at a restaurant or your favorite fast food joint. Despite the exclusions, Oklahomans may start to see more bang for their buck and their fridges filling up.
Now, that bill will also prohibit the raising of grocery tax rates by local governments until July of 2025. Well, the city of Miami officially took over the Miami Senior Center last night. The center says the move was necessary due to funding. The city considered taking legal action to ensure the senior center was transferred in accordance with their bylaws, but decided against doing so. The city discussed taking on various finances like fixing the roof and other things at their discretion.
Some of the upkeep stuff it will be an adjustment, but we have our own guys that can do a lot of that work. The building's really in pretty good shape, so we don't see a whole lot that has to be done immediately. We have a roof leak that probably needs to be addressed, and we've already started working on that.
The city will allow Docs, the food delivering service, to remain at the senior center and continue serving senior citizens. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we'll have highlights from Missouri Southern football's season opener against Midwestern State. Plus, the deputy director of the CIA reveals new details in the Taylor Swift terror plot. And we're tracking rain chances throughout the day. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Missouri Southern football began its 2024 season yesterday evening. The Lions are on the road for a non-conference game in week 0. They travel to Wichita Falls, Texas to take on the Midwestern State Mustangs. Lions taking the field at Memorial Stadium as they face non-conference opponent Midwestern State. Opening drive of the game, and Luke Sampson is going to find Halem Dixon King, drags defenders out of bounds. That would later set up a 43-yard field goal by Drake Reese. Lions lead early on 3-0. So we go later in the quarter, the game tied 3-3. 3rd and long, and Chris Williams is going to bring the heat with a blitz up the middle and picks up a huge sack. Lions force a punt. Then we go a couple plays later, Southern on their own 4-yard line. This snap is too high for Luke Sampson, and it ends up being a safety. Midwestern State takes the lead. Mustangs now up 5-3. So we head to the second quarter, time running down. Zach Bergman is there for the interception. Lions have a chance to score before the end of the half, but Sampson looking to throw, and that is intercepted. Lions just never got into a rhythm on offense. They fall to Midwestern State 18-11 in the season opener.
Sloppy. We were not at our best. I thought we did some really good things defensively. We got some really key stops. I thought we got some turnovers. I thought we, did some decent things on defense, and offensively we did some good things too. It was just maintaining it. It was consistency, and being able to do that for 4 quarters and not just in spurts.
Pittsburgh State football has its Week 0 game this Saturday. The Gorillas open up the 2024 season with a top 10 battle against Ferris State on Saturday night. A night game with special alternate black uniforms, which has all of Pittsburgh fired up.
Yeah, I love the atmosphere of night games, especially here in Pittsburgh. The atmosphere is always crazy. I just think for us guys, just kind of waiting around all day, ready to play the game is kind of some of that stuff that seeps in. But no, we're ready for a great atmosphere, and it's always that here playing in front of our home crowd at night.
They're ready. They've been preparing for this game. Obviously I think that's the challenge as a coach, is obviously to keep them focused on the present, the moment, the today. There's a lot of guys that played in that game a few years ago that have really been motivated, for this game for the last few months. And I think that's probably been our biggest challenge as a staff, is to just keep them focused on today.
Over to Division I college football, KU and Mizzou open the year against FCS opponents. The 11th-ranked Tigers dominate Murray State 51-0. Kansas is just as successful. The 22nd-ranked Jayhawks beat Lindenwood 48-3. Well, still to come, a new study suggests catching up on sleep over the weekend may lower your risk for heart disease. I've been doing it right all this time. And we've got another check of your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. 5:15 coming up on 5:16 on this Friday morning, and we've got a few isolated showers in our area. We've got some heavier rain off to our north and west, and then we have these outflow boundaries that line up from around Lamar back through northeastern Oklahoma that could potentially trigger a few additional storms this morning. Let's start in southeast Kansas with what we do have, which really all the rain that we have is confined right around Garnett. That's really about what we've got. We've got some back in Greenwood County, north of Eureka as well. But here's another good look at the outflow boundaries and how far they're extending now, just to the northwest of Lamar. And if we head a little further south, we had some decent showers around Independence and Parsons. Now we've just got this guy in between Parsons and Oswego. Not much out there at all, unfortunately. You can see where we got activity that tried to get going and just was not successful at getting initiated, but it was triggered by the outflow boundaries, because if you follow the outflow boundary line, that's where those storms came up, and then they just kind of died right back out. Now, we're still going to have an opportunity for isolated to widely scattered storms through the morning and into the early afternoon, and then as we head later into the day, we'll start to see a few more of those scattered showers and storms. So because they're scattered, not everybody's going to see rain all day, but some of you will get some additional thunderstorm activity, maybe even some heavier rainfall in there, and that'll continue as we go into the overnight hours as well and into our Saturday. But by Saturday, as you can see, these storms are a lot more isolated to widely scattered across the area, but a few additional showers and storms will be possible as we go into Saturday afternoon and into the early evening hours. Right now in Joplin, it is dry, 75 degrees and mostly clear skies, south breeze at 3. So that's the other sign you know that the cold front hasn't passed through yet, because the winds are still out of the south. But they will eventually begin to shift out of the northwest. So here we go. The cold front itself is still slightly back behind, but we do have some cooler temperatures out there. Yates Center, Iola at 72, so is Pittsburgh. But the rest of us, for the most part, are right around the mid-70s across the region, even some upper 70s out there, so not where we should be whatsoever. We get our day underway. Again, isolated showers and storms will be possible, be up to about 83 by 11 o'clock. So the low 80s certainly beats the upper 80s that we've been seeing lately, pushing close to 90 by 11. Our highs today, right about 90, so we're going to be at or just a little above normal. And again, initially isolated storms, and we'll start to see a few more scattered storms later in the day. And that will also allow us to start cooling off a little earlier than usual for most of us out there. We head through the evening, scattered showers and thunderstorms down to 70 by 10. Our overnight lows fall back just a little bit more into the upper 60s. So another, again, at or even just a little below normal as we head into the late night hours. Then we look down the road a little further. I'll have those isolated storms again Saturday, maybe a pop-up storm or two on Sunday. You guys know the rules on those. Majority of us likely to be dry on Sunday. It's a little warmer, upper 80s, mid 80s for our Labor Day, looking pretty good. Partly cloudy skies. We'll stay dry Monday and Tuesday. We're looking at the possibility of a few more scattered storms on Wednesday, and then as we head into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, after that boundary pushes through, it'll become more of an isolated to widely scattered kind of thunderstorm chance out there. Not too bad. Temperatures at or below normal. They're warm, but they're much more comfortable than where we have been as we hang out in the 80s. We'll have the low 80s as we head into next weekend. And take a look at Saturday night's low, 57 degrees. Cannot complain about that. Let's check your forecast. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning. More Americans are believing misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines. That's according to a new poll released Thursday by the Annenberg Public Policy Center. It found that more than 20% of the 1,500 people surveyed believed it's safer to get infected by COVID-19 than by getting the vaccine. The center has been tracking public perception of COVID vaccines over the past 3 years. It found that people's acceptance of vaccine misinformation has risen during that time, and that the willingness to get vaccinated has dropped. Doctors across the nation are seeing a summer surge of COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations due to the disease. Just last week, the FDA approved an updated COVID-19 vaccine for people 6 months and older. Well, catching up on sleep over the weekend is not only rejuvenating, it may have an unexpected benefit, lowering your risk of heart disease. A new study says the risk of cardiac disease fell by about 20% for people who slept on the weekends to make up for sleep loss during the week. Scientists also say people should focus on sleep quality over quantity and recommend limiting alcohol and caffeine intake, reducing screen time before bed, and managing how much liquid you drink before turning in. The researchers compiled data from more than 90,000 people, with more than 19,000 of them categorized as sleep deprived, which is defined as having fewer than 7 hours of sleep a night. Popularity continues to grow for organic foods. The USDA says consumer demand for organically produced goods has shown strong growth since the 1990s. And while going organic may provide some health benefits, there's also a big drawback: the cost. Mandy Gaither has more on whether buying organic is worth the extra money.
From fruits to veggies, eggs and nuts, you can find the word organic on many different foods at the store. But what exactly does that mean?
If produce is grown in soil that has not been sprayed with certain substances like fertilizers and pesticides for at least 3 years before harvest, the USDA considers it organic.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta says reducing one's exposure to those chemicals is important, as he says high pesticide levels in foods have been linked to increased cancer risk, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease, a reason going organic continues to gain popularity. In 2010, an estimated $26.9 billion is estimated to have been spent in the U.S. on organic foods. By 2021, sales reached $52 billion, according to the Nutrition Business Journal. But as demand increases, so does the cost.
So then the question is that organic label really worth it? And the answer is it might be. While the organic label doesn't guarantee you're going to be pesticide free, a Consumer Reports analysis did find most organic items were.
But if you can't afford to buy organic, Gupta says that study shows you can still shop smart and healthy. He says to look for products grown in the U.S.
What they found was that imported products accounted for 65 of the 100 highest pesticide risk items in the study.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The USDA says on average, organic farms have higher production costs than conventional farms. But since prices are higher for organically produced foods, that allows farmers the opportunity to make up for the extra cost of organic farming. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we are keeping an eye on a few isolated showers out there this morning. More storms are on the way. We'll have a look at that forecast when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, the Granby, Missouri Police Department can expect some new equipment thanks to a fundraiser for heroes.
And we've got a few isolated showers out there now, a few more storms expected as we head through the day. We'll have a look at that forecast, get you out the door coming up.
Plus, how the community is helping to rebuild a wildlife park in Wyandotte, Oklahoma following storm damage.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:28. I'm Elise Noe.
I'm Chris Warner. It's Friday.
Yes.
We can tell it's Friday. A lot more casual on Fridays.
Case of the giggles.
It's a little more laid back. I mean, once you go 3 hours straight every morning, 5 days a week, by the fifth day, you're gonna just be spent in some cases.
Yeah,
It's going to be tough to get through that 5th day on occasion.
I don't know why it's so funny today,
I
but it's
do
Friday
not-
and I'm happy.
It is,
so.
yeah, and we want you to be just as
Yes.
excited and happy as we are. And I know some of you are excited about some rainfall, which we are seeing a little bit of right now. We'll see more of that a little later. This is a live look from our camera downtown Pittsburgh, looking back to the south and east, and we're looking pretty good so far. We are dry in Pittsburgh. We're dry in most locations actually right now, but we should see some additional showers and storms a little later. Our camera 7th and range line looking back toward the northwest, and there's nothing out there to see. No lightning in the horizon, nothing like that, because again, we're relatively dry. MoDOT camera at 20th and range line, that is not lightning. Just a heads up, that is a street light that they need to replace at some point. But otherwise, again, dry. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing us where we do have some rain, and it's really confined into almost a 2-county area in of the 15 counties in our area. 2 counties really getting some rain. We have some outflow boundaries out there, but they haven't really done much for us as of yet. So Garnett, Ozark getting some showers, some heavier rain just to the north of Garnett, getting ready to cross 59. Down to the south, we did have a couple of showers, you recall, near Parsons and near Independence, and now there's nothing out there, unfortunately. We have the cold front back behind me, and it's off to our north and west. We had these showers and storms develop ahead of it. The outflow boundary, if you watch these outflow boundaries, you'll see them kick off, and as they sweep through, they tried to trigger some additional storms across southeast Kansas, but they just were unable to really get going. And that's what we talked about yesterday. That's why we don't have any severe areas highlighted. We don't have enough of that potential energy for stronger storms. Down the road, though, through the morning, some isolated showers and thunderstorms will be possible, and a little later this afternoon into the evening, we'll have a few more scattered storms out there. And as we've learned, a strong storm or two will be possible here and there, but no significant severe weather of any kind expected. 75 in Joplin, 73 in Pittsburgh right now, and across the region, we're low, mid, and upper 70s out there. So again, we're above average, but this is going to be the last time for a little bit that's going to be the case. Kids getting on the bus this morning, low 70s, some isolated storms, south breeze 5 to 10 by this afternoon, about 90 degrees. A few more scattered storms, northwest wind at 5 to 10. That wind will shift behind the front. Isolated storms the first half of the day, scattered storms the second half of the day. Our highs at or just a little above normal, right around 90 degrees today. We do have the 80s on the way. Don't worry, it's going to cool back a bit. We'll talk about that and some additional rain chances here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, thanks, Chris. The Granby, Missouri Police Department will soon have some new bulletproof vests. It's thanks to a $2,300 check from Hero Fund USA. It's an organization that raises money to help first responders buy life-saving equipment. Granby PD officials say the vest will allow their officers to better serve the community, knowing they are better protected themselves.
They have helped us fund for ballistic vests for all my officers, which is a must in law enforcement this day and age. So it's helped us pay for our vests, which is greatly appreciated.
Hero Fund USA is based out of Blue Springs, Missouri. Well, a medical clinic in Joplin has some advice for area students. Choices Medical Services says young people between the ages of 15 and 24 make up 50% of the nation's sexually transmitted infection cases. The director of nursing at the clinic says the number the clinic has seen actually trends higher.
What we have seen in our clinics, though, with syphilis is that for 2 years in a row now, we've seen a sharp increase of the syphilis cases that we have seen. And for the first time ever in our clinic's history in 2023, and we're on track for 2024, we're actually going to have higher numbers of syphilis positive cases than gonorrhea.
Choice Medical Services recommends people who are sexually active get tested once a year. Well, the Northeast Oklahoma Wildlife Park is working to reopen just 2 weeks after receiving thousands of dollars in storm damage. The director of Creation Safari Wildlife Park in Wyandotte, Oklahoma, says the park has an estimated $50,000 damage. Things such as their bird enclosures were destroyed. But luckily, no animals were injured as a result of the storms. The director says the park isn't letting the storm stop them, and with help from the community, they're working to rebuild.
We had a really remarkable thing happen in a few days to follow. IS Customs, a construction company, has offered to bring their guys and rebuild our bird enclosures.
With cleanup help from the community, the wildlife park is reopening for Labor Day weekend. Park operators say this is their busiest weekend of the year. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. A Hong Kong court convicts 2 journalists that are facing up to 2 years in prison for sedition. Plus, the new ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas are underway in Qatar. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Topping World Watch. There are new details in the foiled terrorist attack planned against a Taylor Swift concert in Vienna. The CIA now says they saved the day. The suspects planned to kill thousands and were connected to ISIS. Rebecca Castor reports.
Taylor Swift wrapped the European leg of her Eras tour last week, but not before narrowly avoiding tragedy after authorities foiled a planned terror attack against her shows in Vienna earlier this month.
They were plotting to kill a huge number, tens of thousands of people at this concert, including, I'm sure, many Americans.
Speaking at an intelligence summit Wednesday, the deputy director of the CIA revealed new details about the terror plot, including it was his agency that warned Austrian authorities.
I can tell you within my agency, I'm sure in others, there were people who thought that was a really good day. Not just the Swifties in my workforce.
3 suspects are in custody, and authorities say the mastermind, a 19-year-old Austrian man, was inspired by the Islamic State. They believe he was planning to attack outside the stadium with knives or homemade explosives.
It's actually really sad that this is actually the world we live in. This concert used to be a safe space for everyone, and now it's just a threat.
All 3 of Swift's Vienna concerts were canceled after the plot was discovered. On Instagram, the pop star said, "The reason for the cancellations filled me with a new sense of fear and a tremendous amount of guilt because so many people had planned on coming to those shows. But I was also so grateful to the authorities because thanks to them, we were grieving concerts and not lives." Around 65,000 fans were expected inside the stadium for Taylor Swift's Vienna shows, with another 30,000 expected to gather outside.
Authorities rescue a 15-foot-long crocodile in India's western region. 10 crocodiles have been rescued following floods triggered by rain. Forest officials sending those crocodiles back into the river and its water levels lower. The state of Gujarat is suffering from severe rainfall, part of a nationwide problem where floods across the country have killed dozens and displaced millions. Well, a Hong Kong court convicted 2 former editors of a media outlet of sedition Thursday. The case is widely seen as a barometer for the future of media freedom in the city. The media outlet's former editor-in-chief appeared calm after the verdict was handed down, while the former acting editor-in-chief did not appear in court due to health reasons. They face up to 2 years in prison and a fine of about $600 for a first offense. The pair were given bail pending sentencing on September 26. Stand News was one of the city's last media outlets that openly criticized the government amid a crackdown on dissent that followed massive pro-democracy protests in 2019. The Hong Kong government insists the city still enjoys press freedom as guaranteed by its mini constitution. While negotiations working towards a ceasefire and hostage agreement between Israel and Hamas are underway in Qatar. Without any meaningful movement in the talks, families of Israeli hostages are becoming more restless. Jeff Paul reports from Tel Aviv.
Carrying missing posters and wearing shirts stained with red handprints, families of hostages frustrated by the lack of progress over a ceasefire deal attempt to cross into Gaza. Authorities near the border stop them, but it doesn't hold back their anger.
We're calling our Prime Minister. If you can't do this, we'll get inside and we'll bring them back ourselves. Bring them home!
American Hirsch Goldberg Poland is one of the more than 100 Hamas abductees who's now spent 328 days in captivity. His mother, Rachel, sending this message towards Gaza.
Hirsch, we are working day and night, and we will never stop.
Talks over a deal between Israel and Hamas are ongoing. White House officials say they'll keep pushing until they get it across the line.
it's in the nitty-gritty, and that is a positive sign of progress. But at the end of the day, nothing is done until it's done.
Complicating peace efforts, the major operation Israel launched in the West Bank. On a second day of raids, the IDF says it killed 5 more militants. The UN says the operation is deeply concerning and is fueling an already explosive situation. Palestinians there agree.
They bulldozed streets. They destroyed parts of houses. They bombed places of worship, which affected us the most and made us cry.
There's expected to be a series of pauses in the fighting in Gaza starting on Sunday. After the reemergence of polio there for the first time in 25 years, both Israel and Hamas have agreed to allow the UN to get in there and help vaccinate the more than 500,000 kids who call Gaza home.
Now to look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:44 on this finally Friday, and we're starting a live look from downtown Pittsburgh. Looking great so far across the area, a little bit on the quiet side for now, and the roads are still dry for now. Our camera, 7th and Range Line in Joplin, also showing us dry roads and relatively calm situation. There's 3 cars. It's not often you can count the number of cars on the road. All right, MoDOT camera, 20th and Range Line, also looking pretty good as well. And we'll head over back to Kansas for the KDOT camera, 69 Kansas Crossing. Also dry because the majority of us, unfortunately, are dry. You can see on the Skywatch Storm Tracker just a few showers up there. So, I love when it updates. See, we got a new shower. This is where the outflow boundary line is. So now we've got a new shower developing just northwest of Joplin, and we have some now developing down in Delaware County. We'll start up here. Garnett, still getting some shower activity, some north of Eureka. Eventually, this may work its way up toward Burlington, and that's going to be about it initially. And then we'll see some additional showers and storms. I need to reposition this, but a reminder, if you've been with us through the morning, we had some showers by Independence and Parsons, and now we have, well, nothing out there. Outflow boundary tried to trigger some additional development across southeast Kansas earlier this morning, and it really did try, but it was just not successful. However, you follow the outflow boundary line, and now we're getting that shower around the northwest side of Joplin, new showers down around the Grove area. The cold front's still back over here, and some additional showers and storms lifting off to the northwest. So, with that said, through the first several hours of our Friday, these are going to be isolated to widely scattered storms, but there at least will still be some shower and thunderstorm chances through the day today. It'll be later this afternoon into the evening, and we'll see those thunderstorm chances kind of pick back up across the area. Better chances, say Fort Scott, Parsons, Fredonia, and points southeast. So if you follow that line, that's not to say you won't see rain in Chanute, Yates Center, places like that, but the better chances will be off to the east across the region. We'll continue into the overnight hours tonight, and then as we head into our Saturday, we'll start to be, again, considerably more isolated to widely scattered, but we still do have some thunderstorm chances, this time mainly on the Missouri and Arkansas side, but at least there's some rain out there, and some rain at this point is better than no rain. Now, we're still above normal right now because the cold front itself still back to our north and west. 75 in Joplin, dew point humidity up there, but what's causing the storms to kind of die out even along that outflow boundary, we just don't have the energy in the atmosphere to support the thunderstorm development. The front will help enhance thunderstorm development, but we just don't have the energy. That's why we don't have any severe risk highlighted. We didn't have any yesterday. We don't have any today. We don't have any tomorrow because there's just not enough lift going on to give us that opportunity for stronger storms, which is good. We don't need the severe weather. We just need the rain. Right now, we're mostly low to mid 70s across the region. So again, it's another above normal start out there. We'll have the isolated storms through the morning, so a good chunk of us will still be dry. It'll be the low 80s by 11 o'clock. Highs today we're a little above normal as we go right about 90. Isolated storms, and then as we head into the afternoon, those storm chances will begin to pick up out there. Into the evening, looking fairly decent in terms of rain chances because we need that rain. We'll have those scattered storms for the evening, 70 by 10, falling back just a little bit more into the upper 60s for our lows. The 80s will arrive tomorrow. We'll be low mid 80s. We'll have those isolated storms Saturday, maybe a stray shower storm Sunday. Not a bad Labor Day, and then we'll have some additional shower and thunderstorm chances in the second half of next week, and temperatures thankfully hanging out in the 80s. That's a check of your forecast. We're back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Well, time for some movie news. Here's David Daniel with today's Hollywood Minute.
But he said, even before the result of the test, we should get your medication under control.
It is under control. It's under my control. And doctors hate that.
Here's your first look at Angelina Jolie as Maria Callas in Maria. The film about the final days of the legendary opera singer had its premiere at the Venice Film Festival, where reportedly Jolie wept as the film received an 8-minute standing ovation.
We were trying as much as possible to recreate a set that we're all very familiar with. We found the actual original blueprints for Rockefeller Center.
The new featurette for Saturday night shows how director Jason Reitman and his crew recreated Studio 8H circa 1975. The film about the lead-up to the first Saturday Night Live broadcast takes the stage in theaters October 11th.
Learn to throw your voice, fool your friends, fun and party.
Michael Keaton and other stars of 1988's Beetlejuice are back for the sequel, but not Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis. Director Tim Burton tells People magazine, Beetlejuice focuses on the 3 generations of the Dietz family, and he didn't want to just tick any boxes. Beetlejuice opens in theaters September 6th. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Well, dashcam video shows a state trooper's attempt to intercept an impaired driver going the wrong way on an interstate. This takes a bizarre turn when the driver seemingly ignores the law enforcement official. Jeremy Roth has today's. Take a look at this.
Watch a Florida state trooper try to stop an impaired driver going the wrong way on the interstate and then have to try and do it again. FHP officials were alerted to a vehicle driving the wrong way on I-75 near Tampa and responded. The trooper positioned their vehicle to block the driver, who instead appeared to ignore the trooper's car, flashing lights and all, and continue on, heading straight at the oncoming headlights. The trooper then tried another tact, as in a tactical pit maneuver, and only then did the driver decide to stop, sideways, in the middle of the interstate. Yes, spoiler alert, the motorist was arrested for driving under the influence, and FHP later posted the vid with some advice. Next time, use a rideshare or designated driver. Speaking of things that shouldn't be on the road, here's one you don't see every day, a full-blown ostrich straight chilling in traffic in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The great big flightless bird was reportedly one of 2 on the loose and appeared to take a little convincing, but eventually moved from the busy road before being corralled and collected by its owner. Finally, if you thought that animal was exotic, take a look at what just hatched at the San Antonio Zoo. The zoo announced a successful incubation of 71 tiny Texas horned lizards, also known as horny toads. And I do mean tiny, like tiny enough to fit on a quarter. The effort, a combined one with Zoo Miami, was done to combat population dwindling due to habitat loss. And if you weren't already in love with these tiny, spiny specimens, just watch this adorable wiggle butt burrow. Oh my gosh, that's it. That's it. I'm getting one. For take a look at this, I'm Jeremy Roth, and I'm headed to the zoo.
Definitely might be the cutest lizards I've ever seen. Stick around. We'll be right back. Well, 2 brands partner up to create a sinister cooler just in time for spooky season. Canned water company Liquid Death is joining forces with Yeti to create the perfect Halloween cooler in the shape of a casket. Now, the cooler weighs 85 pounds and can hold approximately 378 12-ounce cans. Customers can't just go to the store to get their hands on it. Instead, the 2 brands are auctioning off the unique cooler with a bid starting at $1,500. Bidding is underway and ends at noon Pacific time on August 30th. Well, Labor Day weekend means the end of summer is upon us, and for many that means one last trip to the beach. Today is National Beach Day, celebrated every August 30th. Besides being an opportunity to relax and enjoy the sun and surf, it's a time to remember the importance of keeping our beaches clean. If you can't make it to the ocean, perhaps visit a nearby lake and organize a cleanup with your friends and family. At least be sure to take your trash with you after your visit, and always leave the beach as you found it so that others can enjoy it for generations to come.
Certainly so, because there are some of us who have never actually been to a beach or seen the ocean. I've never really been out of the 4 states. I am not a very cool guy, but at some point one day maybe I'll be cool. The only cool thing I can do is tell you about cooler temperatures. We've lost Elise. I'm sorry. I have never seen the ocean. I've never been to it. Look, because I don't fly. I don't trust planes. I'm not doing it. I'll drive to a beach one day, maybe. We'll have some isolated showers and storms through the morning, low 80s by 11 o'clock. Still a warm day out there for us as we go right about 90 degrees, so at or just a little above normal. These isolated storms will become a bit more scattered, so a few more of them as we head later into the afternoon, evening, and overnight. Could even have some heavy rain at times with some of the storms overnight, down to 70 by 10 and a little bit cooler overnight, falling back into the upper 60s. Then the actual 80-degree high temperatures arrive tomorrow, low to mid-80s, below normal for many of our 80-degree days out there. A few more isolated storms Saturday, maybe a stray shower storm on Sunday. Labor Day looking great, mid-80s, partly cloudy, as we have a few more isolated to scattered shower and thunderstorm chances as we head into the second half of next week, and still hanging out in the 80s. That's Check Your Forecast. We'll be back with more right after this.